The Upstate Golf Guys podcast is brought to you by GOLFWEEK Amateur Tour, New York to Upstate, a national tour for all golfers and skill sets in its 31st year. We represent the New York Upstate region, and to join, visit amateurgolftour.net and click Join Now for the best amateur golf tour in the country. David Calise, with his beautiful home for rent in Saratoga Springs. This mansion is located on Airbnb. What a way to enjoy Saratoga with family and or friends on a vacation to golf, go to the horse track, or relax in this beautiful home. For more information, go online to Airbnb/H/mansion in Saratoga Springs for information. Northeastern Insurance Agency for all your insurance needs. Voted #1 insurance agency in the Capital Region in 2024 by the Times Union. For any insurance needs, call Jared at 518-956-3753. The Bunker Indoor Golf, located in over 7 locations across the Capital Region and host of our Golf Week Am Tour Winter League on Saturday mornings. From golfing on their state-of-the-art simulators or having a delicious meal with your friends or family, come on down and visit one of the Bunker locations. Visit them online, getinthebunker.golf. For more information of the Upstate Golf Guys podcast and their partners, visit upstategolfguys.com.
Welcome back to another episode of the Upstate Golf Guys podcast. We are already at episode 59. Things are moving quickly, Mikey. What up, kid? How you doing over there?
What's going on? How are you?
I'm almost caught up to you with the golf season. I know you've been golfing. I know you golfed last week and you golfed Monday. We're not quite there yet. It's only -5 degrees here in upstate New York. So we're not quite in Florida Mike weather, but it's been cold down there actually for you, hasn't it? It's been pretty cold.
It's been pretty cold. I mean, just a couple hours north of us got 6 inches of snow.
I saw that.
Yeah, crazy.
It is crazy, man. Where Uncle Paulie is from, New Orleans, they got like a foot of snow. They were playing hockey in the streets in New Orleans. Pretty wild shit this weather. But listen, I don't feel bad. You're in the 30s. We're fucking -5 right now, my guy. So 30s is a damn heat wave. All right. The 30s is a damn heat wave. It really is.
That's true. That's true.
It's true. I sent you a picture this morning of the temperature of my car. I ain't lying to you.
No, hey, listen, I know all about it, and you can have it.
Okay, I know you were in Chicago for 15 years. I know the story.
Yeah, I mean, you can have it. I mean, don't get me wrong. Monday was pretty damn cold.
Tell me about before we get into our guests and what we have going on tonight. Tell me a little bit about your round on Monday, man. You were at a beautiful course down there. Is the QUARRY course or what? Tell me a little bit about it.
So what it is pretty much is the first 12 holes. I mean, they're pristine. They're nice. The layout's pretty decent, but 13 through 17 is inside a quarry, and it's I believe. Could be mistaken, but it was like an old mining quarry, right? So the very bottom, so when it starts on 13, you hit over the quarry to par 3. That starts the quarry. And then you go to 14, which is a huge dog leg left that goes on the top round part of the quarry. And to your left of it is like 100-foot drop.
You showed me that picture.
Yeah, and then
first, keep going with the course, but is that the story of the 2 ladies that fell? Is that the spot where?
Yeah, it was on 13, the first quarry hole. When I showed you that picture, the 2 greens right in front, or the 2 bunkers right in front of the green, they were in between those.
Oh, that's steep, man. That is
steep. One lady was falling. She went to grab her friend, and they both went.
Oh, thank God they're living, man. I'm not gonna. What, broken back?
100%.
What was it? Broken bones? You said broken back, broken leg,
broken back, hips, faces. Oh yeah, out there for 7 hours. I mean,
wow, thank God that yeah, they're alive. They're alive right now, right?
they're alive. But that'll should teach you to never go somewhere you're not supposed to be.
That's true.
You
They're
know,
all staked.
like,
They're all staked over there, right?
yeah, all it's super private. You know what I mean? 4 a.m. golf course is closed. So no more night adventures. I would imagine for them too.
That's crazy. How old were they? How old were they? Older,
I don't
younger?
know. I don't know. They were older.
Wow. That's a wild. That's wild, man. That's
70 feet.
stupidity. But keep going, man. Keep going with your round. So you struggled a little bit early on again, didn't you? Kind of well, you didn't really struggle. You just kind of held your own. I saw you were sitting on like 8th, 9th place for most of the round, and then at the end you bounced up to the top of the leaderboard again.
Yeah, you know, it just it was weird, right? So I started in the middle of the quarry on 15, which is sweet because I hate hole 16. I hate it with a passion. It's probably like one of my least top 3 favorite holes ever. So I played 15. And it's funny, like from the time I warmed up to the time we got to the hole, I was already cold again, right? So I step up to the tee box and I hit like a 20-footer right into like a rock area. But luckily I got free relief because I was standing on the cart path.
Okay.
So I ended up bogeying that hole because I was able to get a great shot in on the second shot. Then I get to 16. It's a huge dog leg left, and it's on the other side of the quarry. So anything left, you're in the canyon, right? So, and then if you go too far, you're in the trees. So you're out of bounds there too, right? So I hit a nice cut finally with the driver, put me right in the middle of the fairway. Had 109, dude. So I hit this ball, and the way the green is it tilts right to left going towards the quarry, right? Like this. And there's like a hump. If you hit that hump just right, especially where the flag is in the front, it will roll itself to the flag because the greens are lightning. Well, I hit this ball probably 108 yards instead of 106. I hit the back part of this slope hill and rolled my ball 80 feet to the back of the green. So now I have a 90-foot putt, all downhill, double breaker. I 4-putted.
Mike,
So,
let me interrupt you though. That is the game game of inches. Golf is the game of inches. And like you just said it yourself, man. If you just hit that shot, what, a foot and a half shorter?
But yeah,
I mean,
yep.
you're
money.
Maybe a tap-in birdie. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy because especially for us C&D fighters, man. Truthfully, those lucky breaks matter. They definitely help us. And when they go the wrong way, like Mike just talked about, fucking sucks, man. It fucking sucks.
So
you ended up finishing third, top of the leaderboard out of how many guys?
17.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, my friend. Ain't nothing wrong.
Lost by 4 strokes and tee to green. I thought I played great. I mean, I had a couple hiccups at the very beginning just because I think like the first 3 holes I was 6 over. Because then the par 3 number 17, it's a 194-yard par 3, but it's 60 feet below the tee box. And you have all canyon on the canyon wall on the left of it, and then it's just all crap on the right. So it's a tight tee shot. And dude, you know how like because you live up north, where your club's just sitting in the cold too long, and then when you hit it with a golf ball, it just sounds like a cinder block.
Yep.
Oh, dude. Shoom, it died right away, landed in the crap, had to take a drop, and from the red stake. Oh yeah, dude, the first 3 holes were brutal. But
I gotta ask you, we're gonna rewind back to the photo that you sent me, and I asked you this. If your ball is sitting in that one spot that's right at the very edge, and kind of compare it to Jordan Spieth's shot at Pebble Beach, right, when he rifled it over that canyon.
Mm-hmm.
You going for it, or are you just going to pick up the ball and bring it back, take the unplayable? Or are you gonna risk your life in a tournament and go up there on the edge of that quarry? I got to ask you, Florida Mike, what are you doing in that situation? If the ball's sitting on the edge, we all know Red Stake, we could go play it. We're allowed to go play it. Red Stake. That's the rules of golf. If you could get in there and you could see it, you can go play it. Let me know, man. What are you going to do there? Are you risking your life for the win, or it all depends?
Well, I'll tell you what. I even told you day 3 Nationals. I'm not really much of a layup guy. So yeah, I mean, in a tournament, if it means something, absolutely 100%. But I have an advantage. I'm a lefty.
That's right.
So I'm technically not standing near the edge.
That's
my
right.
ball is. So I have some room.
Yeah.
Dude, I've hit in a tournament. I hit my ball was literally, I'm not even kidding. I hit it into a lake, right? My ball was 1.5 feet off the shoreline, sitting on a lily pad.
No shit.
200 yards out. Guy hit it.
Smashed it off the lily pad.
Smashed it off a lily pad. I swear, you can ask the guys I was with. Dude, one was my boss's friend. Dude, I hit it and it hit the green. And I don't know how it got backspin, but it did spin off the green. But I couldn't believe I even hit that thing off a lily pad 200 yards onto the green.
I forget about that. Like, lefties do have that advantage, bro. Well, anything, I guess it could play both ways. Like, anytime there's water on the left side of the fairway, you guys have the advantage. But if the water's on the right side of the fairway, we have the advantage. So,
I'm standing in it.
Yeah, it goes both ways. So,
yeah, I do feel like I get more advantages out of a bunker than righties, though. I don't know why, but it just seems like that. Like, there's a lot of areas in a bunker that I can hit out of without having to have an awkward stance. You know what I mean? Unless the ball is hugged up against the right side of the bunker, which most of the time it isn't, because any bunker that's like on the left side of the fairway, most of the time if you're hitting into it, it's rolling to the left side of the bunker away from the fairway. It's not going to just stay right there on the right edge unless you like trickle it in. So I haven't had very many terrible stances in bunkers, luckily. Yeah. But I've seen a lot of righties have some crazy stances in bunkers.
That time when you asked for the unplayable at Nationals and they said you have to play it, that was a pretty bad one.
Yeah.
That was a pretty bad one. You know what the one I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Finally hit it out of there on 6. You were just so mad, picked it up.
Oh yeah.
The next hole they tell you could have played an unplayable. Oh my God. I just can't. I tell everybody that story, that anybody that knows even a little bit, like, what? But I'm not going to get into that, man. I don't want to get into that. You know what? Actually, let's not really go on with this conversation much longer, because our guest is waiting and I want to give him
let's do it.
I want to give him the warm welcome, because the dude is absolutely awesome. Our guest coming on this evening is a personal friend of mine, Adam Schell. He has a company, BRAINSUPREME. I'm not going to go into what it is all about too much, because I want Adam to really give that full information. But I'll tell you what, this guy knows his shit. We're going to try and tie his medicine into the game of golf a little bit. So we're going to see what we could do there. But he's waiting to come on. We're going to send Adam the link. We're going to get our ad reads over with, and we're going to have an awesome episode, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm telling you, I think it's going to be a lot of listening. If you have any questions for him, certainly ask, but this guy can talk. He knows his shit. It's going to be a lot of fun, Florida Mike.
Awesome. Can't wait.
I can't wait either. I've spoken with him many times. Awesome guy, but we've been trying to get him on the podcast for a long time. Finally here. But let's give our ad reads a quick shout out again, get them out of the way, and we will be back after the short break.
Hey, Mike, you know anybody does any roofing?
Actually, I do, Raj.
Who you got for me, man?
Dude named Tom Murphy did my boss's roof. Actually does hands-on work.
Gets right up there on the roof, huh? The owner of the company?
Yeah, he does. Knows his shit, too.
That's awesome, man. Is this Thomas Paul Construction?
Yep, that's him.
Man, I heard nothing but good things about them. I'm actually on their Facebook page right now looking up some things. The pictures, the aerial view, they're really cool. He gets up there with the drone. You can see the before and afters of some of the work they've done. Go check them out on Facebook. They're a new sponsor here, the Upstate Golf Guys, so make sure you guys go support Thomas Paul Construction, roofing and siding. Thomas Paul Construction LLC is a full-service construction company who specializes in roofing and siding, covering the greater capital region. You can reach them at 518-308-6794. Once again, 518-308-6794. And make sure to go check out their Facebook page. see some pictures of what they've done in the past, and let them know the Upstate Golf guys sent you.
And they just built an awesome new website to show off their beautiful work, 518roofingandsiding.com. Go check it out.
Hey there, golfers. Before we dive back into the podcast, I want to take a quick moment to talk about someone who's got your back both on and off the course. Jared Lozier with the Northeastern Insurance Agency. Whether you're running a golf business, managing a pro shop, or just looking to protect what matters most in your personal life, Jared and his team at Northeastern Insurance have you covered. From business insurance to personal policies, they'll help you find the right coverage at the best value. Here's a pro tip for all you golfers out there. Make sure your golf clubs are protected too. Jared can help you add them to your home or personal articles policy so you're covered in case of loss, theft, or damage. Because let's face it, replacing your favorite driver isn't cheap. So next time you're looking to upgrade your coverage or need expert advice, give Jared Lozier a call at 518-956-3753 or shoot him an email at jaredl@nemail.com. Swing into better protection today.
All right, we are back after the short intermission with Adam Schell. What's up, brother?
Hey, good to see you, Anthony. Thanks for having me on. Nice to meet you, Florida Mike.
Nice to meet you as well, sir.
Yeah.
I think the last time we actually spoke was a couple months back, and we had a good conversation on the phone for about a half hour. But we've been in each other's lives for about 3 months now, and I chit chat with you, shoot you messages, and great guy. I met Adam through Roger, actually, Florida Mike. I met him through RGB. He was on the Pitch Putt and Puff podcast, and when I heard him on that podcast, I said I got to get to know this guy. I said he knows a lot about something that I am really interested in. So I finally have him on the show, man. Adam, why don't you tell my listeners, first off, a little bit about yourself and what you're all about, buddy?
Okay, great. I own what I hope and think to be the preeminent microdosing, psilocybin microdosing supplement available in the marketplace today. We're called BrainSupreme. BrainSupreme.co is the website. There we go. I've been in this for about 10 years. So what we do is we're not like, I don't have a problem with it. I think mushrooms therapeutically and recreationally are great. But what we're really about is premium supplementation. So we combine 100 milligrams of psilocybin that we grow at my facility. We've developed a proprietary mushroom over these years, and we blend it with, so we take 100 milligrams of that secret ingredient, and then we blend it with 400 milligrams of nootropics, which are herbs and amino acids for neurocognition and brain performance. That's in our Genius formula. And then we have adaptogenic herbs for emotional well-being and healthy hormone production. That's Feel Good. There we go. Okay. And then Feel Good, great. And then we've got Athlete, which we take 100 milligrams and blend it with. Yeah, again,
Athlete. They're all over the place. Sorry.
We blend Athlete with natural testosterone boosters and performance, cardiovascular and performance support. And then Black Stack is a little bit of our extra strength formula. That is at 300 milligrams of active ingredient per capsule, blended with super high quality vitamin C, nanocurcumin, and ginger.
Okay. All right, man. Nice. So I actually have tried a couple of your supplements, and I'll tell you what, focus. That's what I get out of it is focus, man. I don't know what other people have microdosing at. I don't know what they really. I've macrodosed in my life. Had plenty of times where I partied and loved it, laughed. Just I never saw everybody that used to say they'd see cartoons, or that's a lie. You don't see that shit when you trip out. I would see some clouds look cool, visuals, but microdosing it now, total different story. I don't know. I think it's just, to me, it's focus. It's just, I just see everything way more clearly, Adam. I'm not sure if that's what a lot of your patients, or if that's what I call them.
Customers and clients.
Customers. Is that what when they microdose? Like, is that really that's basically the best thing I could describe it, man. I just see things way better.
So there's a range of benefits with microdosing psilocybin, and it's really based on your own neurological needs and your neurological wiring. One of the things with psilocybin at both the macro and the micro level is it tends to give you what you need, not always like what you want. So sometimes with microdosing, you might want to be hornier, but or you might want to experience an increase in your libido, but what's really going on is you're masking issues of intimacy. So you find you start microdosing, you're like, you know what, like I can be a little bit more vulnerable. I can be a little pay attention more. Like I'm listening better. I wanted to be able to multitask better, but what I find is I can just concentrate and do one thing well better. So it tends to meet you at the level of your needs. But yeah, like the feedback that we most often get is focus is first and foremost. People say I can just concentrate better. I can think more clearly. We get a lot of physical well-being. Psilocybin is a very powerful anti-inflammatory, and it's one of the few inflammatories that can penetrate the blood-brain barrier. So I think a lot of the reason why people feel and often see and hear better on psilocybin, even at the microdosing levels, it reduces inflammation inside the brain, it reduces ocular inflammation around the eye and in the inner ear. So there's a myriad of benefits, focus, energy, libido, flow state. We hear that a lot from athletes in particular. We have different dosing protocols. One of the protocols is called performance dosing, where you go a little bit higher on the microdosing side, and you do it like practice day and game day, or your 2 hardest workout days. So I hear a lot about flow state. There's a concept in Buddhism called witness consciousness, where you're not your thought, you're the witness to your thought. You're not your body, you're the witness to your body. I have people who have no understanding of Buddhism and this concept of witness consciousness. Will they'll say to me, it's interesting. Like I start to get angry and I kind of feel like something observed me, and I'll be like, do I need to get that angry? Maybe not. And then I just kind of come right back to myself. So your ability to kind of witness and slightly objectify and alter your behavior seems to be increased. Happiness, emotional well-being. There's a really interesting thing with microdosing. It kind of meets you at the level of your needs, as I was saying. So my athletes, my type A achievers, my life optimizers, my biohackers, they'll get back to me and often report 5, 10, 15% bump in performance, efficacy, ability to concentrate, flow state. But my combat veterans, some people have gone through traumatic divorces or really dealing with major depressive disorder, PTSD, suicide ideation. They've often come back to me and said, I might be 50 or 60 or 70% better. Like I stopped thinking about killing myself on day 3. I'm operating with so much less anxiety. I've stopped having night terrors. I've had a number of combat veterans who suffer from terrible night terrors where they'll 3 or 4 times a year, they'll literally attack their spouse in their sleep. Luckily, you don't punch that hard when you're in those states, but it's very unnerving. They've stopped having night terrors. So we get a host of really beneficial feedback. And when you look at the website and the reviews, like something's working. Like
There is.
And the interesting thing with psilocybin, and I'd like to have people hear this from my voice, not read it, because if you read it, it sounds terrible. But if my product isn't working, it's you, it's not the product. Because I've sold about 10,000 of these now, and the overwhelming feedback is they work. And I often encourage people, if they're not working for you, please reach out to me, because there's some tricks and some hacks and some adjustments we can make to diet, lifestyle, dosing time, complementary supplements that can almost get them working. So it's been a very wonderful process of the development of the company and the brand. It's been, I really feel like I'm on point with my life and my mission, and the feedback that we get, large and small, is just, it's been wonderful. So it's great. So, yeah.
I'll tell you what, Adam, well, thank you, number one, for doing what you do, because psilocybin, I'm going to come open with this on my podcast. It truthfully did change my life. It really, really did. I got introduced to it a couple of years ago. Well, I always tripped. I shouldn't say I got introduced to it, because I tripped my first time 30 years ago, but I did not know about microdosing and the level of medicine that it could be as an adult, because I did suffer from, I was a degenerate gambler. I still am. I'm still sick. You always are. It never leaves you. But what carried over my head with that gambling when I always tried quitting was a severe depression. And my wife was always like, you have beautiful kids, you have a beautiful family. How can you be so depressed not being able to gamble? And I just used to say, I don't know. I don't fucking know. I don't understand. But I started microdosing. My buddy Mike, who is actually fighting to have it legalized in New York State, he wants me to come and meet the governor sometime and lobby with when they're trying to get it passed. But that's another side of the story. He introduced me to it. He said, don't get fucked up on it. Take it at a micro level. He said, you do. He told me to do it 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days. And this was, again, everybody has their own way of doing it. But Adam, I am telling you, after 3 weeks of doing this, I really truthfully did not think of gambling even a little bit compared to when I used to go home every night trying to think about it. Before my family, dude, I was thinking about what bet I was going to put in next. And listen, the depression is what it got rid of. The depression. Anybody could stop the gambling, but what it gives you when you have to stop, the feeling in your brain sucks. It really sucked. And they said that psilocybin will rewire your brain, right, Adam? I mean, is that what happened?
So that's a powerful story, and definitely thank you for sharing. I hear it a lot. So look, there are experts in the world in neuroanatomy. There's mushroom experts in the world far better than me. There's CEOs of microdosing companies that are more educated than me. The one thing that I probably outshine everybody is I've had 3,000 conversations on how to microdose with my clients and customers over the years. So I've had more one-on-one experiential feedback. So I can solve almost any microdosing situation. I've heard them all, and I can distill the science on it. So what essentially happens with microdosing is it moves your brain in a beneficial direction, whether you're cognizant of it or not. If you're cognizant of it and have some intentionality, it'll move your brain in a beneficial direction a little faster. That's the science, and they don't fully understand why. What microdosing has the ability to do is it's neurogenerative. So it moves your brain wiring in a new and beneficial direction. And it's neuroregenerative, that old and damaged areas of the brain get regenerated. I also have this belief that the neuroregeneration taps into early childhood memory before so much stress and anxiety had fueled our lives. And so it's regenerating parts of your brain that you haven't used and experienced in a very long time, with more innocent childhood thought patterns, ability to experience intimacy and love and joy, and to be present in the moment. So I've heard this all the time, Anthony. I had one of my favorite stories early on. We were living in Santa Rosa, California. I was in the cannabis industry, and I was developing BRAINSUPREME. And there was a really good restaurant in Santa Rosa, Blue Ridge Kitchen. And it was a hard driving San Francisco chef, young Irish guy, early 30s, but he was a great chef. His food had great flavor and perspective, Northern California ingredients, kind of Southern home style cooking with the real craft artisan flair. The place was amazing. But he used to line up the shots after each shift, and 3 or 4 shots, he'd get his whole staff a little bit buzzed, and then he'd drive home, gave him some BRAINSUPREME. He calls me 2 weeks in. He's like, the weirdest thing, dude. He's like, I'm 2 weeks into microdosing. It just dawned on me I've stopped drinking. I haven't had a drink in 2 weeks, and I didn't even realize it. I was driving home today, and I'm like, I've stopped drinking. What am I doing different? He's like, I started taking BRAINSUPREME. So it just has this extraordinary ability to just move that brain in a beneficial direction, and to just start wiring you for a little bit of happiness. So what you're commenting is that, there are 2 things going on with the gambling addiction, is that you had to engage your will to stop gambling. But what you were saying is the whole of the depression was always there. But once you started microdosing, the depressive hole filled in a little bit. So now the engagement of the will is easier, or you don't even have to engage the will that much, because the depression seems to be getting uplifted. Now, it's not going to be that much of a silver bullet for everybody. And you still have to work, and you were probably doing things like thinking about, hey, I got a pretty good wife, and I got some great kids, and things are going pretty well. So those thoughts, just that wiring for happiness, just starts to uptick and get stronger in your brain. And all of a sudden that depressed area starts to puff up, and now it's little more expansive. So moving your life in those beneficial directions becomes easier. And I've found that time and time again. It's very fulfilling and interesting.
Yeah, man. Now I have to say, on the macro level,
let me
time. Go ahead.
Let me interrupt you.
Sure.
It'll help your listeners. I want to make a distinction. If it helps to understand microdosing if we kind of illuminate more the macro experience, which
Sure.
I think more people have done macro dosing, college, some young experience, the concert, whatever. So basically there's a line in Buddhism. I'm not a Buddhist. I don't know why I'm quoting Buddhism twice now. Once you hear the Dharma, once you hear the truth, the die is cast. And so the notion here is that when the lights get flicked on in a room, the pattern of the darkness is never the same when the lights go back out. So what the macro experience does is it very often spontaneously turns the lights on, so to speak, metaphorically. That the patterns of our consciousness, the patterns of the universe, the omnipresence of love and joy and support and the divine suddenly gets illuminated while you're in this experience, this rapture. And then the lights dim and they go back off. But the pattern of the darkness is never the same, which is why so many people recall the heroic dose experience, the therapeutic experience they had as one of the best memories of their lives, because things got spontaneously illuminated. And for the rest of their lives, they remember that illumination. What the microdosing does is it just continues to gently walk you back to the light. So the macro experience can spontaneously turn the light off, experience ends, the light goes dark again, and then the micro just keeps just walking you towards the light. And that's kind of the best way to understand. Now, the thing with microdosing, you don't have to do a macro experience to still get the benefits of microdosing. They can work very well in conjunction with one another, but you don't have to do each one exclusively is beneficial. In conjunction, maybe even more beneficial. But that's probably the best way for your listeners to understand the juxtapose the macro experience versus the micro experience.
Yeah, they're both definitely different, both beneficial, both therapeutic. I mean, when I macro, it's very therapeutic. I mean, the next day I wake up and I get very close to God when I am, or my God, my higher power, because there has to be, I always get into like the higher power of some sort. There has to be something bigger than us for this amazing world we live in. So I get into all that when I'm tripping out, so to say. But it's really, I'll tell you what, it's very therapeutic. I've never had a bad experience on it. I really truthfully haven't. Never. Mike. So let me ask Mike. Mike's here. Mike, when did you don't do it as often, but you have partake in your lifetime on psilocybin. When was the last time you enjoyed psilocybin, buddy?
I mean, when I was doing it a lot, it was my 20s, late 20s. I'd always start, especially if I had a 3-day weekend from the job. I would macro the first day, and then I would micro the next 2, and then I would sleep. But you're right. I agree with you. I've never had a bad one. I'm a huge energy person, aura, chakra, stuff like that. So like, I always have good energy around me. So when I did it, I was just as happy as could be. I was more focused. Everything looked like HD, I would party macro with my friends. And then the next day I would go for like a 8-hour trail hike with a couple of buddies and just micro the whole time. Yep. And it's just very therapeutic. You always feel great. Even afterwards, you feel great. It just
no hangover, right, Mike?
No hangover, and it's just like you feel the good inside you.
In fact,
sometimes that's good.
It's often the opposite of a hangover. You can microdosers can operate at a higher level of proficiency with less sleep over time. I operate on about 5 hours sleep on average.
That's me.
And I've only as I've gotten older, I still perform at even a higher level because I'm supported by the microdosing.
Adam, I feel like I am getting, it's funny you said that, because my wife was like, I was up at like midnight doing work the other night with the podcast editing and everything. She's like, "You're never up this late." And I don't know. I'm like, sometimes I just feel like I got coffee running through my blood. I don't know what it is, but then I still wake up in the morning, Adam, as refreshed as can be. I feel zero effect, so to say. It's like a vitamin, man. It really is like a vitamin for me. You said it earlier. It's an anti-inflammatory. I heard you say on podcast before that it may not affect somebody the physical wise, but it's actually like a vitamin. It's actually for the people will take it for the inflammatory or anti-inflammatory reasons.
Inflammatory, yeah.
Yeah, I can't spit that word out, but go ahead. I heard it on one of your podcasts. You're talking about it.
Well, I was talking about positive, like the honeymoon effect, where you notice it immediately, versus the reduction of negative affect. There tends to be two things going on with microdosing can. My experience with my clients and customers over the years kind of break down into basically essentially three characteristics and qualities. The first is, and the foremost is the honeymoon effect. Like you start taking it and literally on day one, you're like, wow, like, I just didn't know my brain could operate. You're not stoned, you're not shroomy. You're just, what I like to say is you're like an athlete and you've never had good water with minerals. And all of a sudden you're out there doing your workout, and for the first time somebody brings you like really good spring water with like the perfect high quality electrolytes and salts in them. And you're like, God, man, like I'm setting personal best today. My joints feel great. Like, what is going on? That's kind of what it does for your brain for a lot of people with that first honeymoon experience. You're like, Jesus, man, like, and it's like, this is the new normal. Like, this is how I should be operating. This is how I should be feeling. And it's quite a wonderful sensation. And then it stays like that. And you kind of notice your performance. Then there's a group of other people who are like, I don't think it's working. I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, all right, just hang in there. Stay with the supplement protocol. 5 days on, 2 days off. Let's go through the pack, do it for a month, and then let's see what's happening. And then, I'll consult with them. And then when they're taking their week off, I'll get a phone call on day 4. They're like, oh, I get it. I'm like, what is it? They're like, I went to go to bed last night and all these voices were back. They're like, I didn't even realize my negative self-talk is so paramount, so ubiquitous, and so that I just didn't even notice it recede into the background because it's not something I'm meant to have. And so I didn't really notice its reduction. It's like a slower weight loss. And you got to think after a month, like, oh, I'm 20 pounds lighter, but like, I guess I do feel better. Like my joints feel better. I'm walking better. So this customer realized this reduction of negative affect, which happened slowly over the course of the month. But when they took their week off, the affect started to come back. And that's when they noticed it. And then I have a few people who are just maybe, 1 to 3 out of 100 who are either don't seem to respond to psilocybin. And there's some tricks that I've learned that you can do that can get you turned on at the microdosing level. But for the most part, most people react to it immediately in kind of a beneficial way.
Gotcha. I also heard on when you were on Sam Tripoli, one of my favorite podcasters, he asked about the addictive side of it. I know he's been clean for a long time. He was asking you, is it really considered a drug? Because there's no addiction to psilocybin at all in the science of it. Why don't you fill in on that?
Well, it's all the science and all the research, and then also all the anecdotal testimony that's been captured for the last 60 years, as this has been kind of in our modern world, is psilocybin is non-addictive. And not only is it non-addictive, it's anti-addictive. Just like what you were saying, your gambling addiction, it mitigates and lessens other addictions that we have in our lives. Alcohol, pornography, rage, victim consciousness, gambling, smoking, they all lessen. Pot smoking, other drug use, they all lessen under the use of psilocybin.
They do. So
it's non-addictive and it's anti-addictive. The issue with Sam and I have become friendly. He's a terrific guy. Bless his soul, man. He's done so much good, brave work.
Oh, awesome. I love him to death. I agree.
Sam's a good dude.
He's a good dude, particularly when he goes on Rogan and like after about like 2 hours and Rogan's finally loosened up enough with him where Sam can like really start to lay out some truths. Like he's getting that stuff out there to a big audience to contemplate, you know?
It's
That the
what we need.
world,
It's what
yeah,
we need
it's-
right now.
Absolutely,
it's very
100%.
Adam,
But
I've been telling
Sam-
everybody to listen
Yeah.
to the podcast, not the news, man. Listen to podcasts because you'll get all the information from us. Not me necessarily. Listen, I'm just a little tiny guy, but people like Joe Rogan and Sam Tripoli because they speak the truth, man. They really do. But go ahead,
Oh
Adam.
yeah, there's a
Go on.
lot of
With Sam.
good ones out
We
there.
were-
Sam's identity now is as somebody who doesn't use drugs,
Yes.
and he has a broad category of drugs as defined by the United States government. Okay, I would say that there are drugs, and then there's plant medicines. Some of those plant medicines can be used recreationally, harmlessly, so much better than alcohol and other drugs. So Sam can't allow himself to breach that category that he has. That basically he defines a drug as anything that the United States government has as Schedule 1. So that's his definition, and he's not going to breach that because that's part of his sobriety. I get it. I was on the Luke Story podcast. I mean, Luke Story has built a terrific career as a podcaster but he's all about the psychedelics, and psychedelics have helped him in his sobriety. He's done high levels of ayahuasca and psilocybin journeys, MDMA journeys, and it's never triggered alcohol and cocaine and other addictive behaviors. Quite to the contrary, it's reframed his consciousness. So he thinks of himself. He doesn't think of himself as somebody who's constantly in recovery. You know, he thinks of himself as this kind of new identity that he's formed up as a liberated human being who has his own free will and mastery of his emotions, and psilocybin has helped with that. So to specifically answer your question out there, it's non-addictive, it's anti-addictive, it helps you cure other addictions in your life. Furthermore, for the golfers out there, it's such a performance enhancer. You get into flow state so much more easily when you're on a microdose. We actually have developed a whole protocol. I've developed for athletes called performance dosing, where I like to stack our Genius and the athlete formula, and I go at a slightly higher level. I've been microdosing for all, so I'll take 2 athlete and 2 Genius on my 2 hardest training days, and which tend to be Monday and Thursday, or it could be like a Monday workout, Thursday mountain bike ride. I don't really do I work out, I train a lot, but I don't do competitive sports anymore. My couple guys in the NFL, they'll do a practice day and a game day. MMA guys will do their 2 sparring days the week, and then they'll do it on a fight night or something like that. But what this does is it pitches you into flow state where you're almost interpretive and predictive in your motions and your interaction with your combatant or partner, whatever you're kind of doing. It's the article that you sent me today in Golf Digest, wasn't it, about microdosing and psilocybin that some of the tour players are using, and Aaron Rodgers talked about. I mean, interesting. Aaron Rodgers had a lot of emotional turmoil in his life, did his first plant medicine journey, really developed profound new insights about the universe and himself, and his own definition of what he wants to go for and achieve, and himself as a human being, and came out of it in 21 and 22 and had his best seasons and was league MVP. So it's a very powerful natural performance enhancer in terms of energy and focus and flow state.
Absolutely. And then this leads to this, Adam. Everybody assumes they hear drugs, blah, blah, it's bad for you. I have found, and I have found 0 effects on your body with psilocybin and mushrooms. Like, there's absolutely nothing that it can. I've looked for it. I told my mom, she's like into the health. She's a health freak, and I told her, I said, try to find something. Go ahead, other than a bad trip. Other than that, you cannot find anything. I don't know if they've done studies. It doesn't hurt your body.
They have. So
go ahead.
So interestingly, 60% of the people who report having had a bad trip still recognize within 6 months that it was one of the most beneficial experiences of their lives, and that and what they went through, hard as it was, bad as it was the healing and insight that they needed to kind of reinvigorate and come to terms with some aspects of their lives.
Sure.
So even the term bad trip is just deals with that experience, doesn't deal with the resulting effect of that, which is almost more so than not beneficial. Dr. James Fadiman has been collecting, he's in his 80s now, and he's been collecting testimonies about micro and macro dosers for a number of years. I think he's over 50,000 recorded testimonies, surveys that were filled out and so forth. And they've never found any negative counterindication. There's no pharmaceutical drug that you're on. There's no prescription. There's no antibiotic, no vaccine. There's no supplement. There's no diet. There's nothing that counterindicates with taking psilocybin. The worst thing that happens with psilocybin is, it's kind of expensive and it didn't work for you. But there's no negative counterindications. Some people who are on antidepressants, SSRIs or SNRIs, the receptors in your brain, you eat psilocybin, it hits your liver, it converts to psilocin. Some people experience a blockage in their brain with the psilocin receptors if they've been on an antidepressant for a long time. They can still experience some of the benefits in terms of the anti-inflammation and the other neurological benefits. It's just not going to be as perceptible, that kind of honeymoon effect, in about 50% of long-term antidepressant users. There's a protocol that you can scale down your antidepressant, stay with the microdose, and replace. You got to do it responsibly, and you should do it under the care of a health practitioner. But yeah, like what you're saying, like it is such a safe experience. What I always tell everybody in my coaching platform, which is available for free online at brainsupreme.co, on the shop page, we have a free coaching course. You download it, so you get an email, and then we send it to you. My protocol basically begins with demystify, familiarize, and personalize. So if you have any concerns about starting microdose, if you have any anxiety, start really small. Start with 1 capsule, start with half a capsule, you know what I'm saying? And just limp into it. Do it on an off day. You don't have to be worried about work. You don't have to be worried about chores and responsibilities. Just take the pressure off yourself. And what you're going to notice at that very low level is probably hardly anything. Maybe you feel a little more pleasant. So once you've demystified the process and you realize it's not, it didn't make me sick, it didn't make me crazy, I didn't trip, nothing like that, then you can start to really go into your protocol, supplement dosing, performance dosing, kind of however you want to approach it, and start to personalize this very specific type of plant medicine of how it can be a benefit to your life. Maybe I like taking it 2 days on and 1 day off. Maybe I like taking 1 capsule at 8 a.m. and another one at noon. Psilocybin can be a little sleep disruptive if taken in the afternoon, but for some reason, for me, I sleep even better when I take it later. It's so subjective, that you can't. There are a series of objective realities that I've noticed about it. That it's better taken in the morning, better on an empty stomach, better with water with lemon juice or coffee with some fat in it. For some people, it can be neuroactivating if you take it too late in the day, and it can disturb your sleep. Not in the sense of caffeine, but you're still up working and banging away. Other people, I sleep better. I take one at 4 o'clock, and by 10 o'clock, I have the best sleep ever. So you have to just allow yourself a process of familiarization so you can learn how to use this in the most effective way. But overwhelmingly, it seems to be helping people. Overwhelmingly, my athletes love it. They seem to perform at a higher level. Golfers, tennis players, wrestlers, my MMA crew, my football players. I'm a former football player. I definitely feel, I was a Big Ten linebacker back in the day, and I definitely feel it did some neurological repair for me as well, that my brain health and my sharpness at 54 is kind of better than ever. So yeah, what I tell people, I always like to manage expectations. I spend a lot of money on health and wellness, functional medicine, naturopathic doctors, chiropractors, acupuncturists, supplements, all that stuff. I buy the best supplements you can possibly buy. And my feeling with supplements is, I hope they work. I think they work. Everybody else got sick. I didn't get that sick. But I've never taken a vitamin C and I'm like, oh my God, like that vitamin C was unbelievable.
Right.
But you put a little bit of psilocybin in with that vitamin C, and you're like, oh, I know what I'm paying for. Like that's $80 well spent. That's basically what I like to explain it. It's a slightly expensive supplement that you notice is working for you.
It's magic.
That's hilarious.
You can
Orange
say it.
orange juice was my drink of choice when I was doing the micro and MDMA. Orange juice was drink of choice.
Well, orange. Is it true that taking anything citrus, Adam, right, helps the effect? Is that
vitamin C? So the conversion process from psilocybin to psilocin is facilitated with vitamin C, citric acid. So there's a lot of sugar in orange juice, and it's pasteurized and so forth. So you can squeeze. Yeah, there you go. You can squeeze half a fresh orange, or you can squeeze half a lemon. That's a great way to take the product. And
listen, Florida Mike is he's into all. I think his garden is bigger than my house. He's all.
Right.
He ain't eating no. And his orange juice, I promise you, is fresh squeezed down there in Florida.
Oh, one thing I want to mention is with your golfers and your athletes out there is that psilocybin does not show up in drug tests. The only way that psilocybin can show up is in hair follicle testing, and USADA, no sports organizations do that. The only people who tend to hair follicle test is family court. And even at the hair follicle testing level, no one's ever gotten busted for microdosing. So if you drive, if you operate heavy machinery, responsibilities like that at work, like once you understand the product and how to microdose, and whether it's my product or somebody else's, like, or you're working with raw mushrooms, like once you understand it and you're familiar, you should be able to perform all your mundane workplace functions with a higher level of efficacy.
Listen, I agree 1000%.
Yeah.
I really do. As I am, I've been using I've been using the Brain Supreme for a good year now, and it's changed my life. It certainly has. But let's wrap things up, Adam. I know your time is valuable. Tell all my listeners where they could find this magical supplement, buddy.
So we're online, brainsupreme.co. We've got, I don't know if we do TikTok because we get thrown off, but we got a pretty robust Instagram page going on. I've got a Telegram page, but really the website, brainsupreme.co. You can reach me through the website. We're still at a size where I can reply to everybody almost immediately. I do this thing where I just use voice to text. I actually have a little signature post on the bottom saying, there might be some grammar or punctuation, spelling, but I'm going to reply immediately. I do it voice to text. So I get back to almost everybody. If somebody needs some more serious hand holding, I do have a coaching. It's quite affordable. I have a coaching service where we do like a 45-minute or hour-long conversation preparation and a whole bunch of follow-ups, and they can use it. But for the most part, I'm very generous with my time. I love what I'm doing. I'll get back to almost everybody immediately. brainsupreme.co. We have a free coaching course on the website. It's made up of 8 relatively short videos. I think it's about 30 minutes in all. It'll go through a lot of the information we covered here, but even in more detail. And then we're going to do a code for your listeners. Use the code Upstate. It can be all caps, lowercase, it doesn't matter. UPSTATE, Upstate. And we'll give everybody a 15% discount. And we'll also help support the show.
I love that, Adam. I really do. And again, we appreciate you for coming on the podcast. We appreciate all the listeners for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Upstate Golf Guys podcast. So long, fellas.
Thank you.